there's plenty of reasons to try to protect their system of control and power over the individual. But ultimately, these are not the people who are going to be deciding this stuff. It's going to be we, the people, deciding, because these are the people who are going to destroy the old system. They'll be the ones to blame, not the ones to look for change.
Hey guys, Josh Lake here with the Pebbleton Post, joined today by Mr. Bix Weir of the Road to Ruta, and we're going to be talking about probably one of the our favorite conversations to have, silver.
Nice.
And all the fun that comes along with the silver history, the use as a monetary metal, and so much more. But before we dive into all that, Bix, man, you're like the king of silver. How you doing today?
I'm tired from being the king of silver. I literally, I've been fighting this fight since the 1999, the manipulation of silver price. And it has led me down some amazing roads and amazing understandings of mainly what we've forgotten silver to be. So I'm excited about this conversation. I'm doing well. I think silver is very close to everybody going, oh my God, I don't want Bitcoin anymore. I want silver.
We're right there. And I think you're right when you say that a lot of people might have forgotten, or like culturally we have forgotten what silver is. And so I'm really excited to dive into that too, because I know my generation, we don't understand silver. We don't understand gold. We don't understand precious metals at all, because it's kind of so far removed from the understanding that we have of being not only just an investment, but what used to be what our money was based on. And so I'd like to, first talk about, before we get into all that, how did you get involved with the silver space? How did you get involved with the metal, and not only as an investment, but as something to hold your wealth in?
My introduction to silver was actually when I was about 15, 16 years old. My grandfather owned a diner, and this was in the 60s and 70s. And so he'd get a lot of change in the diner, and he always pulled out the silver nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars in the 70s, after silver was demonetized basically in 1965. Anything pre-65 is partially silver in the coinage. So my grandfather would go through all his change all the time. He had boxes and boxes of silver coins. That's kind of my first introduction. I was always kind of into money and finance, so I got into that world. And then at some point around the late 90s, I got a job with a really big company, great company called GHX Corporation. And I was in the leasing division. I was running their leasing division, and they did a lot of mining equipment, running the equipment side of their lease division. They did a lot of mining equipment. So to understand the value of that equipment, these big haul trucks and drag lines and excavators, gigantic stuff like you see on monster truck type of stuff, you really got to understand the underlying asset to find out if this current mine is going to be in production and things like that. So I got into understanding the value of coal, how coal mines are valued, gold and silver. There weren't a lot of just natural silver mines. It was mainly a byproduct of copper mining. And we had a couple big copper mines with a company called Asarco back in the time. And I was always really interested and really surprised at how they accounted for their silver. They didn't even count silver as anything as they'd mine it. It was a byproduct of the copper. They'd count the copper in their numbers, and silver they would count against expenses. It would basically just, we sold a bunch of silver too. It was so much smaller than the amount of copper they were doing because silver price is so cheap. But they didn't even count it as revenue. They accounted it as knocking down their expenses by getting this extra silver. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever. And it really got me diving into how to value gold and silver. And then from there, it's like you open a Pandora's box into government manipulation, bank manipulation, the history of silver. It's crazy stuff. But that's how I got into it originally, was through my job as a banker working for a company that had to know it, had to know what makes it tick.
Nice, man. I didn't even know that story about your grandfather and the coins. I love hearing that. And I really want to dive into all of, the Road to Ruta elements of what went on behind the scenes that the monetary markets don't really know about silver. But before we even get into that, There's a lot of history when it comes to precious metals in the monetary system. It's probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest form of money that has existed throughout time, since we were trading goods and bartering on systems like that. It's one of the things that I know has been used for exchanging values and things, because it's there's a lot of reasons, but like gold especially, it's what's the word, it doesn't tarnish. It's a metal that is strong and it won't break down over time, so
It's
you can store your
durable.
wealth in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And silver as well.
Absolutely. It's not the oldest, but it's been around the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Silver has been used as money pretty much continuously for about 2,500, 3,000 years. Whereas gold really didn't take on at times and at places it acted as money, but not really until the early 1800s, when England went on a gold standard, mainly because they had all the gold. And they had all these, different colonies all over the place. Then they forced everybody onto a gold standard. But the United States didn't go on a gold standard until 1900. So gold had value, clearly, for its beauty and durability. But silver was, if you go back in time, was used the longest as a form of money. And it didn't actually stop. At least in the U.S., it stopped in 1965. After they killed Kennedy, they took silver out of circulation as money, and they said, "Oh, this is just it's not that big a deal. Don't worry about it. We have zinc coins or whatever they were using at the time." Everybody in the know knew, but the average people didn't care. A clad quarter with steel looked very similar to a silver quarter, so that's all they cared about. And then they took us off the official gold standard in 71. It was kind of a fake gold standard anyway. But yeah, you look back at history, silver has been the longest and the most successful use of money there has been, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean there hasn't been bumps and fall downs, literally, along the way. And with the advent of the industrial side of silver, really in the getting into the 1900s, that changed the ball game absolutely for silver. That's when the banks said, "Holy shit! What if all this silver goes into the industrial side? People will value this stuff more than the value of gold."
What do you know? Why was it industrially so useful?
It's the best conductor of electricity. It was used in photographic film, although most of the photographic film was recycled. So after you bring your roll of, back in the day when we have rolls of film, you bring your roll of film in to get developed, and they would recycle the silver out of the process. And so they were estimating like 90% of photographic film silver was actually recycled back into the market. But being the best conductor of electricity, especially when we moved into an electronic age, and the 40s and 50s and 60s, and obviously today with computers and derivatives, and not the derivatives, computers and flat screen TVs and electric cars and solar panels. It's used in everything mainly because of its properties of moving the electricity the fastest, the smoothest, the best conductor. But there's also silver's used in mirrors. Silver's used in medical equipment because it's very sterile. People used to put a silver dollar in their milk before refrigerators because it would last like 5 times as long. It's an antibiotic, would kill off all the germs. So there's a ton of uses for silver. And because it's so useful, it became important. Because it became important and was part of the money system, the bankers thought, "Oh my God, we better control the price of this thing."
Right. And that's why back to the antibacterial element of it. That's why medical, like surgery tools, were made of silver, and like silver spoons and cutlery were made of silver, was because it would keep the bacteria off of it. Right.
Absolutely. And I did that. I put a silver $50 in. I put 2 glasses of milk out, silver $50 in one of them and nothing in the other. And I closed them off with like saran wrap and left them there. And anybody can do this at home and let it sit there for a month. You're going to see all this mold and scuzz build up on the non-silver one. The other one will look a lot better than non-silver one. So it
That's
worked.
wild. That's incredible. So, not only is it valuable in terms of its electricity and its ability to move electricity through it, its channeling abilities, but that the fact that bacteria can even live with on top of it, that's pretty wild as well. And so I can see how industrially, for many reasons, it's so useful. And back to what you said about mirrors, I also have heard that it's the most reflective metal as well. And so if you need, to reflect anything for some reason, silver is your go-to. And so incredible that it has so many functions, not as just a monetary metal, but as an industrial use. When it comes to the monetary side, though, like before it was even realized to be useful as an industrial metal, why were people using it for thousands of years?
The durability and scarcity factor of money. I mean, it was a good form of money because, I mean, the early days of money, they used kind of odd things, depending on where you were. Like some of the Polynesian islands used round stones that looked like wheels as money. And the person who had the most money had this gigantic round stone that no one could lift. And that was his wealth, supposedly. And we laugh at it today, but what do you think they are thinking of us today? Electronic blips you call money,
Right.
or pieces of paper with ink on them you're calling money. But like the Native Americans and their wampum, those were very valuable shells to them. They served as money. There's all kinds, like in prisons they use cigarettes as money.
Yeah.
It all depends on what kind of situation you're in. Silver was great because it was available, it was hard, it was easily divisible, and some of the capitals of money, where money was, they had a lot of silver. So China, all throughout their history until the 1850s when England attacked them, was huge into silver, using it as money for thousands of years, I believe.
Right. Exactly. And in terms of it's portable, you can move around with it. You can shape it into coins or, bars or whatever you want. And
put your stamp on it. The early coins had the stamp of like the whatever Caesar was running, Rome or wherever it is.
Yeah.
Caesar.
And I know too that it's the ability to move around with it was good, especially as the world was developing, so that people could just carry around a little bit of metal as opposed to like giant hides of animal. And that's why I've even heard why we call bucks like $1 a buck, is because back in the day it was like the hide of a buck that was being used to barter with. And so
and you think of the barter system. Barter system is the best, although if you're a bread maker and you want to buy a house, what are you going to give the builder of your house? 10,000 loaves of bread. It becomes, that's kind of the reason to have something as money, so you can store your wealth. You don't have to, sell all your bread at one time. You can store it in something else, a store of value, kind of like gold is today and Bitcoin, some argue, is today. So yeah, it's great to have. And one of the main things about silver, though, being money, is when it became more useful in the industrial side of it, more and more was being used in that side. And the bankers really, really, really were not happy about the usage in that side. They wanted less silver. They wanted people not to covet silver, but people had an affinity to silver. Right now, we have an affinity to the paper dollars that we have, and for our whole lives, that's been money. For most other people, before like 1965, money was silver. There was no indistinguishable part of silver that was not money. And then it started getting put into all this electronic stuff and the photography, and there, it was a concerted effort to take the monetary side of the understanding of silver out of it. And they did that basically since 1965. A lot of people don't know that silver is still money today. The U.S. mints, their number one product is the silver eagle. They make about, in dollars worth, about the same amount of silver eagles exactly as gold eagles, because silver is so much more popular. I think we're gonna have a big revelation of the upsurge in silver when people understand just how rigged it was. People like things that go up in price. They like to buy at the high. So when you see in silver at $21 now and 3 months from now, it's up at, $800 or $900 or $5,000, they're going to be rushing in to buy because they like things that go up in price.
Right.
They're not thinking today about silver as money or silver as, an ounce and a half in every solar panel, 2 ounces in electric cars.
Yeah.
How are we going to go green without finding billions and billions of ounces of silver? We can't.
Right.
So, with a truly fair market value situation where there is an exchange that determines fair trade and fair values for silver, as the price went up, it would increase supply, and vice versa. As the price went down, the miners wouldn't be able to mine; it would decrease supply. Right now, they've perverted this industry so poorly and so badly that nobody knows what the true fair market value of silver is because they're playing with derivatives. And when you play with derivatives, not the real thing, you can make 1,000-ounce bar of silver trade at $21, and that's what they're doing right now.
So I want to dive into this whole topic a little bit because I know this is one of the main principles that you teach on the road to Ruta, one of the main philosophies that you hold as to the financial system being corrupt, and that, the powers that be are overtly at this point manipulating the numbers for a reason. And one of the things that I remember learning when, I was working with you was one of the signs that really showed me how crazy this whole thing was is if you take, a look at the graph of the value in dollars of silver and of gold, and you compare the two, silver or gold is at its, and correct me because I'm probably going to butcher this, but gold is, at its highest it's ever been. And silver is not even half of the highest that it's ever been. And so even if they're being pulled out of the ground at the same rate or, used up, if silver is being used up more than gold, especially, you would think that price would just jump up, but it's clearly not in the price if you're looking at it. So could you talk to me a little bit about the entire, just everything I mean, there's a lot that but just a little history, a little backstory of just this silver manipulation game.
Sure. In the 1850s, China was putting all their silver into, England was putting all their silver into China to buy teas and spices and silks and things like that. That's when the manipulation started. And what they did was they set up a bank called Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, HSBC is known as today. And the idea was to get the Chinese people addicted to opium, a very addictive drug. But the only way they could pay for that opium was with silver. And the idea was they get whole population addicted to opium. They'd be paying with silver, and all the silver would go back to England. It worked. And that's what sparked the opium wars of the 1850s, the war China against England. And it's been going on bullshit like that ever since. Today, we have computers and derivatives that rig the price of silver up, down, or sideways. With the derivatives and the exchanges that trade derivatives, which is the only exchange we have, the COMEX is the only place that silver is priced. They can set the price of silver to minus $40, like they did with oil. They put oil at minus $40, and everyone's like, what? They can't go there. It did. Because it's not real oil they are dealing with. It's not real silver that they're dealing with. There's a huge silver supply shortage. Even the official numbers are saying we're 3 years on and there's no end in sight. Last year, India imported 300 million ounces of silver, and the price didn't do anything. How is that even possible when only 850 million ounces are mined every year? 300 of it went to India, and everybody else stayed the same. The price should have doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and it didn't. It just stayed the same because they're not pricing silver. They're pricing derivatives of silver, and the big banks and the regulators are in on it. Your U.S. Treasury is in on it. It can't go on forever. I think this year is the breakout year, but hey, I've been saying that for a long time. I didn't think they could carry on the con that's been going on since I got into this conspiracy world in 2000s. I saw it happening. A lot has been learned, a lot has been shown, a lot has been proven, and a lot has been admitted in court, out of court, you name it, that the silver market is 100% rigged. A bunch of JP Morgan traders, Citibank traders, Deutsche Bank traders have gone to jail for doing that. JP Morgan paid the largest fine in history, $920 million, largest commodity fine in history, and admitted that they were rigging the silver market with spoofing. They were doing a lot more, but with the spoofing, they were colluding with other banks. They didn't get busted for that, but all the traders did. So it is such an opportunity. I say this a lot, but I wish I had never heard of silver ever before, except today I knew everything about silver. Just one day I woke up, I thought, oh my God, I would have thrown everything I had into silver at that today. But over time, it's like your best option is to dollar cost average in. Say you have $1,000 you want to put into silver, put in 500 now, and then 100 every week for the next 5 weeks type of thing. Or you can spread it out or anything like that. But definitely you're going to want to get physical silver in your own possession, not an ETF. Those are just derivatives of silver. You don't own it. As a matter of fact, the largest ETF in the world has the largest warehouse of physical silver. It is controlled by none other than the same bank that got busted for rigging the silver market, JP Morgan. You would think they would have removed them as the custodian of the silver, but no, they haven't. And BlackRock is doing that. They're in on the rig. The U.S. government, the Department of Justice is in on the rig. Everybody's in on it. And people have admitted, Bart Chilton, the CFTC regulator, admitted that, yeah, we knew JP Morgan was rigging the price of silver, but there was a political decision when Gary Gensler was the head of the CFTC, a political decision not to bust them. And that just tells you what's going on with our justice system and our regulators.
Yeah, it sounds like they're all in on the con and that they're all benefiting from it, from at one degree or another. And so that's, something I wonder is why are all these governments, the banks, these systems, why silver? Why are they keeping it held down? Like, why is there a benefit to them to do that?
Well, silver and gold are alternatives to what they are offering, which is unbacked fiat money, control of the money system. You can, if you controlled your own printing press called the US dollar printing press, you can control a lot of people and make a lot of things happen for yourself. The one thing you cannot allow is alternatives. That's why they're going after cryptocurrencies. That's why they go after gold and silver. Gold and silver are also the canary in the coal mine. If they start printing too much money, gold and silver start to rise. So they think, hey, we can still print the money, but we'll artificially suppress the price of gold and silver so nobody knows what's going on. So there's plenty of reasons to try to protect their system of control and power over the individual. But ultimately, I think gold and silver, mainly silver, will rise so much as to, one, make them angry. They'll probably try to nationalize all of it as well. But I don't think anybody would listen to the people who got us in this problem in the first place. A lot of people say, no, they're going to a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. These are not the people who are going to be deciding this stuff. It's going to be we, the people, deciding, because these are the people who are going to destroy the old system. They'll be the ones to blame, not the ones to look for change.
Yeah, we're not going to trust them at all when, the people, vast majority of the public who save their wealth in dollars, and that dollar, because of all this printing, because of all this unbacked, just inflation essentially of the fiat dollar system, when people realize that their wealth has been their hard-earned money that they've worked their life to spend or to earn, when that system begins to crumble, I mean, it already is, if you look at it, and they're going to not trust those people who created this problem. And so with silver, it is 100%, in my opinion, just like crypto, a really good way to get all of your wealth and store it outside of the fiat system. And that's something you've taught me really well. But you have to be very careful and specific when you do it. Like you said, you want to hold it in physical silver, in literal metal, because you're holding it yourself and it's yours. You're in control of it, as opposed to, like you were saying earlier, the ETFs, which are the electronic versions of it, like stocks of it, or stocks of the mining shares or mining companies. Those are the derivatives, correct? Those are the things that are being controlled. Those are the things that they can trade through high frequency trading to suppress the price. Or am I misspeaking?
That's part of it, but also
beyond that, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about silver. There's only two more things I want to bring up.
Sure.
First one being, what does this piece of silver mean to you, Bix?
That's the Root of Lives coin.
Can you talk? a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I started giving away silver coins with private road memberships on the road to Ruta as a gift for reading my stuff. And then I got into video. So, getting our private videos and things like that. And I made a coin, and it was a really cool coin. And we had a lot of them made. We ran out of those. It showed Ruta running down the silver brick road. There it is. And a little cave of gold there on the side. And I thought that was a really cool coin. And I knew it was time to make another coin, but I wanted it to reflect my journey, the journey of the road to Ruta. How did I find out about this crazy, what is Ruta thing? And a comic book, Bix, what the hell is that? And it just started so much of my, it kind of kickstarted my dive deep into what was going on in America. And there are good guys. It was my first glimpse of there are good guys behind the scenes at the Fed and at the Treasury that are working to bring us back to a gold and silver standard. And that the coin that I made was the picture of Ruta. That's Ruta, the little cartoon character from the comic book that the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston put out, and she's out there trying to bring a gold standard back to the United States of America, completely anti-Fed. But then she has this black heart in the comic books. And I'm like, that just it never sat true with me, because this is the good guys trying to take back our system. So I decided to make the they're double stamped. So make that heart stamp a little deeper so that we could put some red paint in the middle.
There it
It
is,
just
right there.
means so much. Paige did 99% of the coins that we've sent out. Paige did those. She painted the heart, and then we seal it in a plastic container so it doesn't tarnish. And it comes with a box and a certificate of authenticity. And the back says, "May the road you choose be the right road." So to me, it's a very, each is individually numbered too. It's very meaningful coin in my work. And I think when the road to Ruta theory becomes widespread, I mean, it's kind of widespread now, but when it becomes proven to be true,
Yeah.
or at least the closest thing to true, I think those coins are going to be worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and we give those out free with every 1 year subscription to the Road to Ruta. It's $2.99 for a year, less than $1 a day. And you get literally 20 years of backlogged information about silver and cryptos and the fight for our freedom and things like that. So, yeah, that's what that coin means to me.
That is very well said. And if you guys have been enjoying what we're talking about here, you're going to love what Bix talks about on his YouTube channel and also his Rumble channel, and especially his private road. And so, and if you could join the private road, like he said, you get one of these bad boys. They're beautiful. They mean so much. And a little trivia, Ruta, like you said, Bix, went out and found in the comic books we're talking about, she found all this information and she wanted to share it with the public. And the people that the town that she lived in was called Pebbleton. And so the people of Pebbleton became aware of all of this beautiful truth about how their world truly could be. And so that in the comic books was the town of Pebbleton. And that's why we call this project the Pebblestone Post, because this is a place for us to share truth. This is a place for us to share information and knowledge and teach people who have been deliberately misled for, their whole lives about a better way of living, a better way of understanding money, understanding just a more harmonious life. And so that's why we love to call this the Pebbleton Post. And it's all because of the Road to Ruta and the Ruta comic books, and because of the work that Paige and I have done with Bix for the last couple of years, and how it's transformed our lives. We just want to share that energy, share that knowledge with as many people as we can, because we are, if you didn't know, we're in a pretty big psychological and spiritual war right now. And if we can find more people to join the fight, if we can do what we can to get educated and to take action, then we have a fighting chance at this crazy control system that's been holding us down for so long. And buying silver is absolutely one of the best ways you could do that. So make sure you guys check out Miles Franklin. Make sure you guys check out Bix Weir and the Road to Ruta to learn more about that. And also, like and subscribe to the Pebbleton Post, because we're going to be talking about this stuff all the time. We're going to be talking about how to live a more free, liberated, prosperous life, and how to take control of your wealth, how to take control of your health, all of these things that we might not be getting so much information about in our day-to-day lives. And so, and just building a really good community of people that, started with what Bix and a lot of the people in this community have done. They've fostered such a great network. And so continuing to build those relationships, and hopefully if you enjoy what you're hearing now, you can join us and become part of this awesome freedom movement. And so anyway, Bix, just want to shout you out, give a lot of appreciation and gratitude towards all the work that you've done in this space and how it's impacted me and Paige in our lives, and how it's going to continue to impact all of us. And so the more we can talk about it, the more people will be able to wake up and take action. So just wanted to say that.
I think it's a great platform that you guys are setting up. It's going to be different than the Road to Ruta. You guys got to bring your own spin to it and reach out and touch a different audience than I was able to touch. And the more information that gets out there, I think we're all better off for it. So yes, definitely like and subscribe Pebbleton Post. Go sign up for their email service. Yes. And they got a Patreon channel coming up. And yeah, is the Patreon channel up yet,
John? Patreon channel's up. We got a website, pebbletonpost.com. We got Patreon, Pebbleton Post, Twitter, BitChute, Rumble, Truth Social. We're trying to get as much traction as we can with this project, get as many people on board, and especially, like you said, bring a lot of the younger people aboard, because a lot of this information that you're talking about was lost in time, and only the people who got to live through this transition understand it. And people like in my generation and below have no idea. It's been purposefully kept out of what we've been taught. And so helping bridge that gap is one of the things that we're really excited to do here. And that's why we're so excited to have people like you, Bix, not calling you old, but calling you warrior who's veteran in this space. And so if we can learn from you and the other people around you, hopefully we can bring that information down to the younger generations.
That's a great purpose in life.
Yes. So anyway, guys, really appreciate it. Go check us out on all those platforms. Go sign up for our email blast, because that's going to be one of the places that we are really pushing all of this information. Same on Twitter, same on Truth Social. So, until then, thanks for tuning in. We have a lot of awesome conversations to have. Silver is one of our favorites. And so, Bix, thanks again for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Josh.
All right, you guys. Take care. We'll see you at the next one.